Hello and welcome to the reading from Agastya, Purpose of Life, from the Sacred Discourses of Agastya Velipadu. Today we will begin with a very short 4-line verse, which is the epitome of the work that Sage Agastya is doing in the world today. I'll first recite it in Tamil, the original language, and then read it in English, and then we will continue with the topic of miracles. அகரமாய் எழுத்தினில் ஆகிய முதல்வனின் உகரமாய் உயர்களில் உயர்ந்த முனிவனாய் மகரமாம் பிறப்பெனும் மாயையை நீக்கி அருள் பகர்ந்த அகத்தியன் பாதம் நிதம் பற்றுவோம். ஓம் அகஸ்தீஷாய நமஹ. The one who is manifest as the foremost in the letter A, the sage who is the highest among the living beings, manifested in the letter U, dispelling the illusion of life as the letter Ma. That sacred feet of Agastya let us touch every day. Now let us continue with what we were reading about last week. So today we are talking about how are miracles manifested. Sage Agastya says, a mantrik is a category of magician in India who are believed to use occult powers. Okay? A mantrik gets it through the agency of a spirit that he holds in his power. In this case, the material is already there. It is only brought to the person by the spirit or a messenger that others cannot see. The mantrik performs many, sometimes ugly prayer rituals to appease the spirit. This is one category. So, Appa is talking about how a mantrik, who is a lower level of a practitioner, not usually positive in terms of sadhana and in terms of spiritual growth, but somebody who uses the powers that are manifested as one begins sadhana and misuses it actually to create some kind of expectation and then make people want to come to him, producing things, and then utilizing that opportunity to do bad things or take money or stuff like that. So once again, we'll read what Appa says. A mantrik gets it through the agency of a spirit that he holds in his power. In this case, the material is already there. It is only brought to the person by the spirit or a messenger that others cannot see. The mantrik performs many, sometimes ugly prayer rituals to appease the spirit. This is one category. Now I see the thought you have in your mind, and this is what Agastya told me, because at that moment, suddenly my thought was towards Puttabarthi Sai Baba, and he admonished me. He said, and I hadn't even mentioned it. The thought just flitted across my mind. And he said, Puttabarthi Sai Baba is not a mantrik. It is not correct to judge a Siddha Purusha like him. In his early life, he had, and then Appa stopped and said, no, I will not tell you his secret. But what this particular paragraph talks about is Appa is reinforcing that Puttabarthi Sai Baba was a Siddha. And what he produced was not like other fake mantriks or mantriks who did not really have spiritual evolution in their mind. Puttabarthi Sai Baba was an exalted being, and he did produce those materials through his siddhis. So let us continue. With your willpower, it is possible for you to convert matter, whether it is solid, liquid, or gas, into invisible forms and re-manifest them again. So he says, one who has the ability to control the elements can, with the willpower, convert matter, whether it is in solid, liquid, or gas form, and re-manifest them again. Then he says, and that is how many of the people are able to, with siddhis, are able to produce this. Then he says, the third one, there is a third procedure. A Siddha Purusha can send a part of his astral body to pick up the material. Most people cannot see an astral body. That is why the astral body acts as an invisible messenger. Some call this the bioplasmic body. It oozes out of a person's body, collects the material from another place, and returns to the person. Now, a Siddha Purusha does not need to do that. He does not need to create miracles so he can gain something from somebody. Usually they do it because there is a particular reason for them to bring that material and give it to someone else. So Appa has talked about 3 varieties of how people can bring materials or manifest materials. One is where it's already there, then a mantrik uses an agency to bring it there. Then there is the Siddha Purushas who can actually manifest something. And then the third is when there is something that needs to be given to a particular person and they can bring it. Then he continues. All these are cognizable types of miracles. You can see it happening and you cannot miss it. So this is what people in the world are usually very excited about. They become enthusiastic, they become excited. Oh, this is a miracle. And that develops their faith. At one point, it is good because for the most ordinary people, unless something special happens, something is produced out of thin air, they are not able to understand the power of a particular sadhana or the benefit of worshipping. However, for spiritual sadhaks like us, who are more interested in spiritual evolution, these things are not important. Miracles are not important. Miracles become a part of our life. And let us see how that goes on. So he says, all these are cognizable types of miracles. You can see it happening and you cannot miss it. There are many people who have naturally developed siddhis like this, and we see them all around us. And then he gives an example. He says, very shortly, the mother of a girl who will come to take blessings from your father today will say, how did you know that my daughter is going to take a mathematics examination today? Because at that point later, what he said happened because my father did tell the girl that he is going to bless her for her exam. But the mother didn't know how this happened. And she was like, how did you know? But this kind of things happened a lot with Gajaraj-Swamigal. Like I've explained before, somebody asked about a relative who was very ill and no medical attention could cure him. But when Gajaraj-Swamigal closed his eyes, he could see what was causing the problem. And he told this person to go to that person's bedroom, which was in some other city, and remove the old things that he had underneath in the bed. And that energy was causing the disease and ill health in that person. And so we have already discussed how it's important not to bring things that are used by others from antique stores unless you're very sure. And even if you bring, try to cleanse them either through cleansing them with salt water or praying to God to cleanse them of all negative vibrations, because things do carry negative vibrations. So we'll continue. So then Appa says, for them, that family of the girl who came to take blessings, it is a small miracle. Why should your father tell her without being asked that she has a mathematics exam today? These are the beginnings of siddhis. So usually, a person is developing siddhis when they can start telling you things that you're not really have told them or expressed or shared with them. So they know things already. So that is one of the things that I noticed in Valipadu. People would come and ask a question, but before Agastya even gave them the answer, he would talk about the whole background, the whole life story, whatever could be shared in public. And he would tell, these are the things that are happening. This is the reason you have come. Even though you're asking this question, this is what you have in your mind. And he would answer both the questions. So all this is, siddhis. When your consciousness has expanded so much, you know things intuitively. Then there was a question. I've been hearing sounds before sleeping. Are these hallucinations or real? So as I was practicing meditation, Kriya Yoga, as taught by Yogananda, I started hearing sounds. And I had a doubt. Is it real or is it my hallucination? So Sage Agastya says, it is not an hallucination, which is a term used in psychology these days. I'll tell you the difference between hallucinations and actual occurrences. Hallucinations are self-induced. Siddhis occur naturally. And then, at this point, I would like to share that, as a Kriya Yoga practitioner, you do start hearing things. You do experience a lot of things which are not very ordinary, or doesn't, appear to be ordinary, because it does have the power, that particular technique of yoga, to evoke those kind of perceptions, consciousness in you. So I was blessed to be able to perceive that. But now Appa goes on to say, now I want to tell you one more important point. Every human being has several chakras. We know that. Then he says, each chakra has enormous potential of expression of knowledge and various other powers. By invoking deities with the proper mantras, it is possible to acquire supernatural powers through these energy centers. Now, this is a major revelation. And this kind of revelations are many in Vadipadu, where he doesn't even say that it is a revelation. It just, it's part of a discourse. So again, each chakra has enormous potential of expression of knowledge and various other powers. By invoking deities with the proper mantras, it is possible to acquire supernatural powers through these energy centers. So the Sri Agastishwara Panchakshari Sat Chakra Yoga Sadhana, the one that was developed after the giving of Vadipadu recently and published in the book Agastya Yoga Siddhanta, actually talks about these chakras and the elements and the deities connected with the chakras. So if we begin to understand this latent power, which is within each one of us, then we can actually live to the full potential of the divine beings we are. I haven't reached that stage yet, but we all have that, and we can all, through our sadhana, begin to express that. And it also happens that even if you don't want to do it consciously, as you progress in your spiritual evolution, you will notice a lot of things that may be out of ordinary for others, but you begin to notice that your perception changes. You understand more of the hidden side of things. But the most important part in this whole thing is, do not give too much importance to that, because people do get into, they become enamored with this kind of siddhis, or, understandings, or extra sensory perceptions, and they remain in that level instead of proceeding. So no matter what happens, continue on your sadhana, because the highest perception is the feeling of bliss. And that is no parallel, because in that, everything else is added into it. So let's continue. Let me give you an example of your father using this technique without prior knowledge. So he's now talking about Gajaraj-Swamigal. He says, Manipura chakra can produce heat in the body, that is in the navel center. Without knowing this, he prayed to the chakra, and by the grace of this chakra, he and your mother did not feel the cold when they slept on the floor in the holy town of Tirupati. So this had happened. They had gone on a pilgrimage, and they didn't find a hotel at the time. So they had to stay in one of the quarters that was given by, or the rooms given by the temple. And those were bare rooms. And they hadn't taken the things they needed for that particular pilgrimage. So they actually had to sleep on the plain floor. But Gajaraj-Swamigal was able to evoke the heat from his navel chakra, the Manipura chakra, and they were not cold that day. So he says, Appa, one-pointedness, dedication, discipline, devotion, and faith in God can give you all these powers. So once again, one-pointedness, and we talked about this. Even scientists, even if they're atheists, if they focus on something with one-pointed concentration, then it is very, very natural that will act like a laser beam, and attract that particular type of knowledge to them. The same way, that's what we are trying to do in the spiritual field, focusing with the idea of attaining liberation. Ultimately, that's our goal. Nothing else should come between that. Then dedication. So dedication, discipline, devotion, and faith in God. All these are very important on the path of sadhana. And also because these things will eventually bring you all these things that Appa is talking about. Then he says, coming to your questions, the sound you heard were partly the knowledge you have about this as taught in Kriya Yoga, and partly manifested due to your perseverance. He doesn't say that was completely because of, it was a natural process. He says it was also your mind working. But over the time, things changed and it was completely manifested based on the yoga and the dedication. I used to meditate 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the night. I mean, all day was spent in nothing but divine contemplation. So at that time, the progress was very high. Then Appa continues with true and fake manifestations. Sage Agastya says, magicians, hypnotists, and occultists produce miracles, and they will work on your mind. The occultists use yantra and mantra, and in any case, manifestation of material does require presence of such materials elsewhere. Miraculous healing depends on faith. Reviving the life of a dead person is a miracle of the highest order. Only a godly person can do. So now he's talking about 3 levels of miracles. One is manifestation of materials. Another is miraculous healing, which we have seen or heard in the media out there in the world. And also reviving the life of a dead person. Christ could do it. Lahiri Mahasaya could do it because they were all God-realized persons, very godly. I mean, they were at the highest level of their spiritual evolution. So they could bring back life to a dead body. So all these are Appa says miracles. So with this, we end the chapter on miracles, and we are not going to start anything more today. And we will see if we can continue next week with a different topic. So we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us today.